We're in the parasha that is called Shoftim, and we read about a very interesting prohibition in this parasha, and which aroused a very interesting question. Is there such a thing, thank you, is there such a thing as good luck or bad luck? Because a lot of people, they have a lot of superstitious beliefs, and a lot of people believe in all sorts of things. But a big question we have, especially in Judaism, is it real? Is it really such a thing that there's a good luck or bad luck? Sometimes something happens to you and like, oh, I had such good luck. On the other hand, sometimes something bad happens and you're like, oh, I have bad luck today. The question is, is it really such a thing as good luck or bad luck? Is it something in Judaism? I mean, after all, you know, whenever there's an occasion, what do you say? Mazal tov. You go to a bar mitzvah, you go to a wedding, you go to a bris, whatever it is that you wish. You say Mazal tov, which means that's good luck. Should have good luck, a good mazel. So the question is it something really coming from Judaism, the word mazal, and not only that, even astrology. A lot of people, they can't wait for the newspaper to come out with a column of the astrology to start reading, and they believe in that. This week I'm going to have a good week, and I'm going to meet my other half today. And you believe the nonsense that they read in the newspaper? So, and everybody loves hearing the astrology. If I was born on this day, it means I'm going to be like that. And so the question is even astrology in Judaism? Where's astrology in Judaism comes in? Because we're also talking about signs and luck, and how is that fit well in Judaism? Now, not only that, we also believe, or we mention and we say that sometimes there's a good time and sometimes there's not such a good period. Like we know, we're now finishing the month of Av, so we know in the beginning of Av is not a good time to get married or a good time to do a business deal. And sometimes we have these periods, a good period, a bad period. So the question is also, is that a real thing? Is that really time there's a good time or a bad time? So we want to know, how is Judaism looking at all these things that we're kind of every day we depend on? Have a good day, a bad day today, and we send people, we wish them you should have good luck. You go on a test, good luck. So we want to know. It's very interesting. A lot of people ask, how is Judaism looking at that? So we have a prohibition in this parasha that we're not allowed to do any sorcery and witchcraft and seances and all these things. We're not allowed to do that. This is called lo te'onenu, meaning that don't use magic and all this stuff that people kind of like. So we have a prohibition not to do that.
There's no kosher way to do it?
There's no kosher way of doing a seance. No. There's no kosher way of doing it. It's not allowed to be done. A seance, going to a fortune teller, all that stuff. And like we mentioned in the last couple parashot, Moshe Rabbeinu knows that that's it, time is up. Aaron passed away, Miriam passed away, he knows he's about to leave, and he knows that now the Bnei Israel are going into Eretz Israel, and he's afraid of them. He starts telling them what to do, what not to do, what's allowed, what's not allowed. In the last couple of parashot, there's over 100 mitzvot. So, Moshe Rabbeinu comes and tells them, listen, I know you're going to go into the land of Israel, and you know what they do in Israel? They use all these black magic and mystic things, and don't do that. Don't fall for that. You know, when I first came to the United States, I would go, and whether it would be, I lived in New York, in Manhattan, or different places, you have in certain places all these tarot reading, this reading, that reading. It's very tempting. Ooh, now this woman with the big earrings are going to tell me about my future, and wow, she can solve all my problems. It's very tempting. And I didn't see it, so you don't really see it in Israel. In America, you go in in a very busy place, in the big cities, you see all these tarot readings, finger readings, palm readings, mind reading, all the readings. Everybody's very psychic and psycho. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells Bnei Israel, listen, you're going to go into the land of Israel and you have to be very careful, because the people that are inhabiting the land, they believe in all these things. Be very careful. And he adds a prohibition that what we're not allowed to do. And one of the things we're not allowed to do is we're not allowed to do a seance, we're not allowed to go to fortune tellers, all sorts of, and he gives a breakdown of the things that we're not allowed to do. All sorts of acts to pass, they used to pass their kids through the fire, all sorts of weird things. And the general title is called Lo Te'onenu. And onenut is with the letter Ein, and it comes from the word onot, seasons. And this is where we bring and where we learn the concept that there's a good period and a bad period. And when the prohibition comes, Lo Te'onenu, is not to believe in the seasons, because astrology, what's really astrology in two words? The astrologists, they divided the heavens into 12, into a pie of 12 sections, and every month is one section, and they teach and believe that if the sun and the moon, they hit a certain piece of the pie, a certain house, then it will do a different energy. And if you have the 12 signs, that if the sun hits the sign of Libra, then a certain energy will come to the world. The moon will hit the sign of Sagittarius, and a certain energy will come into the world.
We're having an eclipse tomorrow.
I know.
Is that any way addressed in this?
In this parasha, it's not addressed, but it is in.
Is it addressed generally?
Yeah. In the Torah, yeah, we do address it about the eclipse, but here we're talking about astrology, and the Torah does not go by astrology. Rather, the Torah says in this week's parasha, it says, "Tamim te'em Hashem Elokecha." Don't have to go and make things sophisticated and hard. But the reality is that, at least as a question, is astrology true? Is it true that when the sun will hit a certain, they call it, I don't know if they call it in English, in Hebrew they call it bait. Bait is if you take the 12 months, or you take a circle and you break it into a pie of 12 sections, then each section is called a bait. I think in English they also call it a house. I don't know if they do.
Yeah.
So the question is if astronomy is true, and also if Judaism goes by astrology. We have a question: is if we believe or we go by astrology, if it's true or not. But we know that Jews should not and do not deal with astrology. And the question is why? The quick answer to the question is because the Torah says, Tamim ti'em Hashem Elokecha. You should be simple with Hashem. What does it mean, Tamim? One explanation of Tamim is whole, complete, 100%. We know that when you're offering a sacrifice, the sacrifice has to be Tamim, meaning complete, perfect, no blemishes. So when the Torah says, Tamim ti'em Hashem Elokecha, the Torah says you have to be perfect, complete, no blemishes. And the Ramban explains that Tamim is that you have to have a complete belief, that your belief is simple. Don't believe now in all sorts of sophisticated things. Have simple belief. Rashi explains that Tamim is naive. Somebody that just believes everything and just accepts everything as it is. But really, Tamim means Tithalech idmo betmimut. Walk with Hashem in a very believing way, a simple way. Don't start to dig into the depth of things and why this happened, and this is what we tend to do. We tend to dissect the situation. Something happens, we start, why is this happening? And she said like this, and he said like that, and we tend to look too much deep. What was the cause for that? And a lot of people are very superstitious, and if anything that they do, oh, it's because I didn't do this, it's because I didn't do that. Torah says, Tamim tihem Hashem Elokecha, be simple, have simple belief in Hashem. You don't need to start now analyzing every little thing and why and who, and it doesn't matter. Just be simple. So the Ramban says Tamim means that you have to be complete, whole, no blemishes. Rashi says no, just be, I know it sounds negative, be naive. Just say Hashem says, believe. Don't need to start questioning now every little thing. More than that, we always try to dig in to learn the future. That's something that interests people. You know, last time I went on a tour, then I get invited to many different lectures. Some of the lectures, most people, they want me to lecture about my near-death experience. That's the highlight. But some people already heard it, so they say, no, we want you to teach something else. And they ask me, can you give us ideas, topics? So we have a list of topics. Every time, if I will say a topic that is talking about something about future, mind reading, dreams, prophecies, palm reading, all these, ooh, that I like. Let me teach you about Mashiach? Let me teach you about how to work on your midot? Let me teach you how to read the hand palm. Ooh, that I like. I want to know how to read the future. So, when it comes to all these spooky things, one time I went to one congregation, they also asked me what topics do I have, and then she said, oh, you know what, I want you to teach about dreams. What are dreams? What do they mean? Where do they come from? Oh, we had a full house. When you teach something practical, then you get very empty hall. When you're teaching about something that is a little bit out there, oh, now that's what I want to hear. When we advertise my near-death experience, everybody wants to come, oh, that I need to hear. I need to hear something that came from a different place. So we have a tendency to read and to learn and to get very interested when it comes to spooking things. So Hashem comes and tells us, be tamim, be simple. Don't start looking into the future. And don't start dissecting and interrogating every little thing. And you know, when it says tamim tihiyeh, be tamim, be innocent, be naive, however you want to interpret it, is in one way of saying, don't look for advice all day long. All day long we're looking for advice. I have some people that they literally call me every 10 minutes for advice. I'm like, I can't answer you every 10 minutes. Come to me once a week with some questions, I'll answer your questions. No, today I have to do this and that. Should I take this route or that route? Oh, come on, no. So some people every 2 minutes they're calling for advice. And not that I'm saying it's something wrong. It's good to get advice, but sometimes you have to just let Hashem take you where you're supposed to go. When the Torah says Tamim tiyeh, be simple, have faith in Hashem. Don't have to every little thing dissect into little pieces and why and how and should I do this, should I do that. And you know, I taught once in a class that everything happens in a hashgacha pratit. Everything that moves around you is supervised by Hashem. And nothing moves around you without the supervision of Hashem. And some people took it to a very negative place, and I had people calling me and telling me, you don't ask. I was walking in the street, and a cat looked at me. What does it mean? What does it mean? The cat looked at you. No, but you don't understand. He looked at me, then he moved his head to the left. 3 seconds later, he looked again. It doesn't mean anything. It means the cat looked at you. So sometimes people go too crazy about something, And, oh, I saw today 3 times the number 7. What does it mean? It means that you saw the number 7 3 times. So, the Torah comes and tells you, don't try to get some people, they're fanatic about these things, and they start analyzing every little thing. And people send me emails in the length of Megillat Esther, and with a whole mathematical equation, how everything fits. And I'm like, wow, you are unbelievable, but why are you wasting my time with that? What's the question? After I read 3 hours email, what's the question here? No, I just wanted to tell you my analogy. So the Torah comes and tells me, be humble, be simple, don't be so worried. We constantly worried about things that causes us to analyze, but not only to analyze, to investigate too much and to depend. And okay, if he didn't say this, why this happened like that? You know, there's a story that there was once a great tzaddik in a certain town, a big Rabbi, and because he was such a great scholar, everybody would come up to this town to get a blessing, to get advice, to hear a class. Now, since it was like a very busy town, then the merchants would come and sell things there. You know, here in Israel, wherever there's like action, there's these cars, it's like a van, we call them gazlan, that they come with a van, they open up like the doors and they sell you sandwiches and soft drinks. We used to have it in the army. We would like park somewhere, suddenly this van would come. We would call it gazlan because in Hebrew gazlan, somebody who takes way too much, overcharges. So we would be soldiers in the middle of nowhere. He would charge us like, 10 shekels for a little can of soda or something. He was like, gazlan, you don't have, where are you going to buy? You're in the desert. So buy. So they used to call them gazlan. But anyways, in this town, because the Rebbe was very popular and there was a lot of people coming, so the merchants, one would come and sell his little jewelry, another one will come and sell his art, another one will come and sell his fabrics. And sometimes this Rebbe used to go on trips. And while he would go on these trips, no parnasa. So one time he increased the trips. And they got very upset. They were like, they all gathered together, they made a committee, and they came to him and said, because of you, we don't have parnasa. Because every time you go on this trip, nobody comes to the city, and we don't have parnasa. So he told him, I recently went to the place where all the cows hang out. How do you call it in English? In Hebrew it's a refet. Where a barn? A barn? Barn? Okay, let's say a barn. He says, I went to the barn and, I didn't see that the cows are worried. I didn't see that the cows are worried when the farmer is going to come and give them their food. They were just there standing and they knew the farmer is going to come at some point and give them their food. So why are you worried? Why you don't trust Hashem is going to come and give you your food? You're blaming it on me that I'm going on a tour of lectures and you don't have parnasa? Because trust Hashem. So the thing is that we always look for answers and solutions. And we're always worried, and we always try to dissect situations. It reminds me of a joke, because we mentioned last week we had a class about the worrying, and I said there's a Jewish mom syndrome that you go out, it's 100 degrees outside, take a coat, you might be cold. So there's also the jokes about different cultures. Every culture has jokes on them, and they say it's not jokes, it's real. So there's also jokes about the Polish women, that they always have something to say. So one young man, he met his wife, they were dating and they got engaged. So they go to meet the Polish mom, and she brings to the groom a box with a present. He opens the box and he finds 2 ties, a red tie and a blue tie. Okay. Comes the first Shabbat meal, the Friday. The daughter says, we're going to my parents for the meal. So the groom opens the box. Let me show respect to my future mother-in-law. I'll wear one of the ties. So he pulls the first one. The first one was the red one. So he puts the red tie. He walks in. So the mother looks at him. She says, "What? You didn't like the blue one?" So he says, "No, I like the blue one too, but the red one was on top." The following Friday, they go again to the meal. So he says, "Okay, last time I got a smack on my head because I rode the red tie. I'll put the blue tie." So he puts the blue tie on. He walks in. The mom tells him, "Oh, so you didn't like the red one?" So I'm laughing because it's close to home. My mother-in-law is Polish too. So you know, they joke on the Polish women that doesn't matter what you do, they're never satisfied. What, you didn't like the red one? No. You didn't like the blue one? No. What do you want? So Baruch Hashem, I'm laughing because my mother-in-law is Polish, and my father has all the jokes about the Polish women, and after he tells me the joke, I tell him it's not a joke, it's the truth. So, anyways, Chas v'shalom, we're not putting anybody down, just to make the atmosphere a little bit more light. So we tend to analyze things in a very, very wrong way. Somebody come with a red tie, what, you didn't like the blue one? No need to start now analyzing every little thing. So the Torah comes and tells me, stop worrying, stop dissecting, stop interrogating, just be simple. Tamim te'em Hashem Elokecha. Be very simple, just believe in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's what happened, go with it, just flow with it. Don't be so heavy. That's why the Torah says no to astrology. Why do I need to open a newspaper and to see, oh, this week is a good week for business deal, this week is not a good week to get engaged? The Torah says it's all good. But sometimes we do find in the Torah that it says, you know, this is a not good period, this is a good period. We just now finished the month of Av. We know the beginning of Av, Mishenichnas Av mematim b'simcha. Av comes, you have to diminish the festive activity. Comes Adar, Mishenichnas Adar marbim b'simcha. It's a good time. The Torah does tell us about auspicious times, good times, bad times. Not only that, the Torah also is mentioning astrology a few times. So why is the Torah so, I wouldn't say against it, but why is the Torah telling me don't go by that? You know, the first time that the Torah is talking about astrology is with a story with Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu couldn't have a kid, and he went to a fortune teller. And the fortune teller told him, you know, your mazal is pointing on the planet Tzedek. Planet Tzedek is in the west. It's very cold there. And therefore, in your mazal, you're not going to have a kid. So we see that already Avraham Avinu was into astrology. He went to find out what's going to happen. Now, at some point, Hashem reveals himself to Avraham Avinu, and he tells him, I'm going to bless you. Your offsprings are going to be blessed. And he takes him out of the tent, and he tells him, you see all these stars? Your offsprings, generations after you, will be more than these stars. You're not going to be able to count your zera, your offsprings, your generations that are after you. I'm going to make them multiply more than the sand. So Avraham Avinu says, excuse me, I have just one question here. You're telling me you're going to bless me with all this, but who? How? I don't even have a son. How are you telling me you're going to give me a blessing and I'm going to be Av, Ramon Goim, I'm going to be the father of nations? I don't even have a son. That was way before Ishmael was born. So Hashem says, oh, don't worry. You are going to have an inheritor. You're going to have a son that's going to inherit you. Now this was said when Avraham Avinu was 86. That was before Ishmael was born. And he didn't even have a son yet. He says, what, I'm going to inherit all my stuff to my servant Eliezer? That's when Hashem told him, don't worry, I will take care of business. And Hashem says, I can change your mazal. No problem. All I need to do is add one letter to your name, your mazal now is going to be pointed to a completely different direction, and you're going to have a kid. So we see from that even Avraham Avinu and the Torah is talking about astrology. It's actually saying that Avraham Avinu, when he went out of the tent, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took him out of the realm of the world, above the realm of the world, and he told him, you see, Avram, that missing the hay, this is his mazel. I'm going to give you another letter to your name, Avraham. It will completely change your mazal, and you're going to be able to have a kid, and you're going to have many kids. So we see already in the Torah it's talking about astrology. The next time we see that it's talking about astrology is the story with Paro. Paro wanted to kill all the firstborns. Why? Because his sorcerers came and told him, you know, that we see in the stars that the Redeemer of this nation is about to be born, and we also see that he's going to get struck, he's going to die because of water. So Paro said, okay, let's throw all the kids into the Yor, into the Niles, the Jews and the non-Jews, because we don't know where he's coming from, and that way we're going to kill him. Now they saw already in the stars that Moshe Rabbeinu, why Moshe Rabbeinu died? Because of the argument. Because that's the argument of what's called Mei Meriva. Mei Meriva is there was an argument at the time of the water, and that's what caused Moshe Rabbeinu to die. So even the sorcerers of Paro saw that he's going to die because of water. So we see again the sorcery, the astrology, and that Paro knew what's going to happen. And the third and interesting place that we find the point of astrology is with the story with Amalek. Amalek, it says in the Midrash, in Yalkut Shimoni, that what was the power of Amalek? That Amalek used to send the soldiers to fight on the day of their birthday. We know, based on teachings of Hasidut and many other places, that on your birthday, your mazal, your luck becomes more powerful. Where do we really learn that from? Because the Midrash says that Amalek, when he used to recruit the soldiers, he used to write their date of birth. And he used to send them to the battle, he used to send the soldiers on their birthday. Because he said that their luck is more powerful, therefore they are much less possible to die. Because their luck is much stronger that day. So the soldiers would go out to fight on their birthday. That's one of the many places where we learn that on our birthday, our mazel increases. So we see also Amalek used to go by the astrology, about the birthday. So we see 3 times in the Torah that it's talking about astrology. Not only that, even in the oral Torah, in the Talmud. In I explained once that there are 2 types of Talmud, the Bavli and the Yerushalmi. There were sages that were sitting in Bavel, and there were sages that were sitting in Yerushalayim. And the Talmud is written in 2 sections. In the Talmud that is called the Yerushalmi, in the tractate of Rosh Hashanah, that's where it's talking about the whole thing with Amalek, that Amalek used to send the soldiers that had their birthday. In a different tractate, in the Bavli, in Masechet Shabbat, it's also talking about that every day shows that if a person is born on that day, he would have a different type of attribute. It will be completely different. And it goes into length, and it says, whoever was born on a Sunday, and this can be found in the tractate Shabbat, I believe it's in page 151 or 156, but it's very interesting, because it says, if somebody was born on a Sunday, either he's going to be mamash a righteous person or a wicked person. Why? Because on the first day was created the darkness and the light, so it will be 2 extremes, either extreme to this side or either extreme to that side. It's given an example about a certain Amorah, a sage from the later generation, that two were born on the same day. One became a very big Amorah, a very big sage. Another one became the robber. And then it says that whoever was born on a Monday is going to be problem with anger, Ragzan, getting very upset all the time. Why? Because that's when Hashem separated the waters. It became an argument, a machloket, between the water above and the water below. Whoever is born on a Monday is going to be a hothead, a hot temper. And whoever is going to be born on a Tuesday is going to be very rich, and also chas v'shalom noef, committing adultery. And why? Because on that day were created the grass. And grass, they live amongst each other, they multiply a lot, shows on wealth, but they also live amongst each other, all the weed and grass, that shows on adultery. And then whoever was born, who's going to be born on a Wednesday, is going to be a big chacham, big scholar, and illuminating the world, because that's when the sun and the moon were created. Whoever was born on a Thursday is going to be a very good-hearted person, very charitable, very kind, because that's when the birds and the animals were created. Whoever is going to be born on a Friday is going to be running after mitzvot, love mitzvot before Shabbat. And of course, whoever is going to be born on Shabbat is going to be kadosh, very holy person. So again, we see that the Gemara comes and tells me, I have a roadmap. If you're born on a Sunday, you'll be like this. You're born on a Monday, you'll be like that. We see here, this is like the type of teachings of astrology. So we see the Torah and the oral Torah is also talking about that. So why is the Torah so against the astrology? And why the Torah says, be simple, be tamim. Don't go after all these questions. And so so we want to know, how is the Torah looking in this whole concept of astrology, and looking into and what's called lachkor, to interrogate and to learn. So we have two opinions that talk about it. The first opinion is the opinion of Rambam, Maimonides. He completely annuls the whole concept, and he says this whole thing is a bluff. Don't believe in it, it's nonsense, it's hocus pocus, it's nothing. Don't believe in it. And he's the only one actually that believes in that. That's the only opinion. And he actually says, I know I'm going to have the only one that says that, but Rambam completely cancels the whole concept of astrology, and he says, don't believe in that. The other opinion, which is by the Ramban, he explains his opinion in a story. And of course the question is, why the Torah is so against astrology, or doesn't allow you to believe in that and to practice that. So the Ramban says, there's once a king, and wherever the king used to travel, his entire entourage would go with him. And wherever he would come would be a big thing. One time he goes and visits a certain city, and the people of the city hears, oh my gosh, the king is coming. Wow, they created a whole event, closed streets, like Trump came here a few months ago, they closed all the highways, everything is shut down, 1 million citizen cities shut down, the whole city of Yerushalayim, 1 million people live there, they shut the whole city down for one person to drive a mile. So, same thing here in the story, the king coming, they're shutting down all the highways, everything, they're preparing a big feast, a big event. Now the king walks in and he's surrounded by his entourage. The Minister of Defense, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Health. And you just imagine a big room, thousands of people, and you can all the VIPs and the cameras, and then one guy has a certain issue in a certain department. He says, okay, this is a good opportunity to go to the Minister of the Department of Construction and let me get my permits. I'll schmooze with him now and I'll get permits now for me to build this big project. So he goes to the department, to the minister, the department of, I don't know if the right way to say the Department of Construction, but the minister that is in charge of anything that has to do with building. Then another person has another issue with a different department, and he sees the minister that deals with that specific department, and he goes to him and he schmoozes with him, makes friends with him, just for him to give him some permits. And like this, the whole room, that's what's happening in this big room. All the VIPs, all the tycoons, the billionaires, the businessmen, everybody's schmoozing and dealing with each other, and everybody that has his own issue goes to the minister that deals with that section. Now, all the ministers are all busy with all the people who are schmoozing with him. The king was free. One smart person, instead of going to the ministers, goes directly to the king and says, I have a problem with this and that. Can you help me? The king says, oh, I control all the ministers. If you have one problem and you go to one minister, that's good. The minister will help you. But I control all the ministers. So that's one person, that smart person went directly to the king. Why go to the minister? I can go to the head. So the Torah comes and says to us, why go to the minister? Go directly to the king. You have access to the king. Why do you need to get a permit from a clerk in the city hall? Go straight to the mayor. That's why when the Torah says Tamim tiye im Hashem Elokecha, it says im, it means with. Tamim, be simple, be whole, believe. But it says im Hashem Elokecha, with Hashem. Get attached to Hashem. Don't go around. Why are you going around? You're going to a fortune teller to tell you who you're going to marry. You have a shidduch. You want to know if it's the right one. You're going to some hocus pocus to tell you if that's the right one. Go to the king. So the Torah says, I'm giving you a shortcut. Why do you want to go through the bureaucracy of all the clerks and ministers? And yeah, it is right. It's true. The astronomy, the astrology, yeah, it's true. But it's not. Why for me? I'll go directly to the king. So that's what the Torah comes and teaches me. And that's what this parasha. Yeah. But the Torah comes and tells me, why are you looking for shortcuts? Why are you looking to deal with something like the minister? Go directly to the king. You can pray, go and pray. You can, you want to change your mazal. The mazal is a real thing. Mazal comes from the word in Aramaic to linzol. Something that is nazil. Nazil means drips. Something that drips. So you have chas v'shalom a leak, it's called nezilah. The water is coming down. The mazal comes from above. The reality is that the mazal can change. I can control my mazal. I spoke a few weeks ago in New York. The class didn't go online in. Bezat Hashem will go this week. And we taught the concept of about the facial structure. What does it say about the person? And the lines in the hand. Palm reading. Oh, that got the attraction of many people. It was a full house. Everybody wanted to see their mazal. What is my hand telling me? And I was explaining that the lines in our hand, they're true. They're actually telling me exactly what's going on. I know now everybody's looking at their hand now. There's nothing there right now. But what I was explaining is that when I change my mazal, my hand lines will change also. So when you go to a palm reading and they look at the palm, they tell you what they see. That's true. But you can now do tshuva or change something and the lines will change in your hand. So I can change my mazal. I can change my luck. And there's a very famous story in the Gemara that Rabbi Akiva finally had a girl. Many years he didn't have a child. And finally he had a girl. And as he was walking out of the birth room, he meets an astrologist that comes and tells him, instead of telling him Mazal Tov, he tells him, listen, I know you're very happy right now and it's a festive time for you. I don't want to make you sad, but I see in the stars that this daughter will never get married because she's going to die very young. So Rabbi Akiva was a believing man. He didn't take this much into consideration, but it was always in the back of his mind. And finally, Baruch Hashem, she got engaged and there was a wedding and he was very afraid. Maybe she's going to die now. Weeks before the wedding, days before the wedding, he kept coming and checking on her, are you okay? Everything's okay? She was like, yes, I'm fine. What do you want? The night of the wedding, he was very scared. What's going to happen? Maybe she's going to die now. He kept coming to her. He came into the yichud room, after the yichud room, before, after. He kept telling her, you okay? Everything's good. She's like, Father, everything's fine. The next day, he comes first thing in the morning, knocks on the door. He's shaking. Maybe what's going on with my daughter? She opens the door and he tells her, you okay? Everything's fine? She's like, are you okay? What's going on? Were you becoming a Polish mom? I'm fine. So he tells her, no, I was scared because when you were born, a fortune teller came and told me you're not going to live, you're not going to get married. And she told him, you know, that's very interesting because last night I had my hair all organized like a bride and I pulled out the pin that's for the hair to fall down, and you know, in our days you have a nice jewelry box. In the olden days they would stick it in the wall. So she said, I stuck the pin in the wall. And you know, this morning when I came to pull the pin out to tie my hair, I found a dead snake on it. And so he said, you were saved. The snake came to kill you, like that man said, and you were saved. You did something. And she was like, I don't know, I didn't do anything. And he told her, you must have done something. And she says, you know what? Yeah. Now you have to understand that the wedding of the daughter of Rabbi Akiva, that was the wedding of the century. This is not some wedding in a restaurant. All the VIPs, all the ministers, this was the wedding of the history. Thousands of people. In the middle of the wedding were all the great scholars, all the great businessmen, the tycoons, the billionaires, ministers, everybody's in this wedding. A poor person came into the wedding and now he's tempted. He's standing in the entrance, he sees all the good food, but he's like, I'm going to come in, they'll throw me out. And he was very hungry. The daughter of Rabbi Akiva saw him from far away. She went off the stage, ran out to him, invited him in, sat him down and made sure that he has food. So Rabbi Akiva says, Utzdakat atzil mimavet, that charity saves you from death. He quotes a verse from the book of Mishlei. King Solomon said, Utzdakat atzil mimavet. The daughter of Rabbi Akiva did charity with this poor person, and she was able to change her luck. The snake came to kill her, and Hashem changed it in such a way that with her pin, she just stuck it into the wall, and she killed the snake. So we see that we can change our mazal. Our mazal can easily be changed. I only need to do is tshuva. I need to pray, I need to ask, I need to do an act. I can now do a charitable act. Somebody knocks on my door, I really don't feel like helping that person right now. I'm in the middle of something, I'm tired, I don't want to. And I go out of my way and I help that person, whether it's with my time, with my money, whatever it is. And I can change my entire mazal with my actions. So the reason why the Torah says, yes, the astrology is right, but we don't go by that because I'm way beyond that. I go directly to the king. So the Torah comes and tells me, Lo te'onenu, don't go on to these fortune tellers and hand readers and all these things. Be tamim. Believe in Hashem. Don't ask questions. Don't interrogate. Don't question. Just be simple. Have simple belief in Hashem. And when it says tamim tieh im Hashem Elokecha, im means with. Be with Hashem. Don't neglect Hashem. Neglect Hashem, you will have to go and start reading all your signs and the astrology and all that. Just stick to Hashem. And believe in the fact that yes, you are born with a certain mazal, the day, the hour, the period, in the middle of the day, the end of the day, the hour, everything, yeah, it's true. You can kind of pinpoint how to calculate certain things according to the birthday. It's actually much more accurate. The teachings of the Zohar says that it's if you know the moment of the conception. Conception, you say? Yeah. Conception? If you know the moment, you'll know much more than what the astrology will tell you on the birthday. Right? More than if you know when the father and the mother were together, which is kind of easy to know if you keep the laws of family purity. You know the day, you can know the hour, you know when. So if you know exactly the hour and the time of the day and which day the time of conception, you will know much more than what the astrology will tell you on the date birth. But the thing to remember is that yes, I am born with a mazel, with a luck, but I can change it. And that's the difference what the Torah comes to teaches me. You are way above that. You feel you have bad luck? No problem. Increase in mitzvot. Learn more Torah. Do some charitable acts, you'll change your luck. You need some guidance from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Don't go to a fortune teller to tell you if that's the right match or not, if I should do this business or not. Just pray, give some charity, learn some Torah. Hashem will send you the message. Hashem will guide you. And our luck is dependent on our actions. That's why in the hand, in the palm reading, I can do now, change completely my actions, and my luck will change, and my lines on my hand will change. Because I changed my luck right now. So, I heard an interesting quote. I always like looking at these documentaries about history. And I recently saw a documentary about the Yom Kippur War. Because, my father was a colonel in Yom Kippur War, and the story is that he was going up in the ranks because unfortunately there was a lot of casualties. So he started as a captain, and he jumped in ranks because there's no other soldiers. So he became a colonel that leaded a whole, I don't know the names in English, one bigger group than a brigade. A brigade in Hebrew is a gdud, and then you have what's called the chativa. I think it's called the division, but a very large group of soldiers. And they crossed the Suez Canal. The famous story is that my father was the leading tank, and he stopped the tank. Behind him are a couple hundred tanks, and he opened the top, and he goes out, the commander, and he puts up his binocular, he looks around, and he puts the binocular down, and an Egyptian sniper shot him. And the second that he put the binocular down, the bullet went into the binocular and saved him. And up until today, he has the binocular. And the story is very close to heart because he came home from the war, and I was with my mom, and I was born. So my mom was telling me that Hashem was looking after your father. You were supposed to be born. That just think of the timing, a millisecond. The sniper he has my father in the scope, and he shoots, and that same moment he puts down the binocular. And the binoculars in the olden days today are plastic. Binoculars 40 years ago were heavy metal. And up until today, my father has the binocular with the bullet inside. So Yom Kippur is very close to home. That's after I was born. So not too long ago, and besides, it was a miraculous war. And they actually said that this war could have brought Mashiach. That at the time of the Yom Kippur War, we were about to lose, big time. And since we were about to lose, and if we would chas v'shalom lose, means the armies will penetrate into Israel, and Hashem erachem, what could have happened? So they were about to nuke Syria. They said, okay, we're about to lose. We have no other options. We have to drop a nuclear bomb on Damascus. That will push them off. That's when the world heard, wait, nuclear bombs? No, we'll help you. Because up until that point, we didn't have zero assistance from anybody. Nobody, all our allies did not assist us. When the world heard that we're going to nuke Damascus, then they were like, okay. And at the time, actually, they knew that if they will be able to conquer Syria, Mashiach would have come. It was a very powerful war. Anyways, long story short, I saw this documentary and I heard a very interesting quote that at the time, the chief rabbi, I think is at the time was the chief rabbi of Tel Aviv, then he became the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Lau. At the time of the Yom Kippur War, he went to the Lubavitcher Rebbe and he told him a few words. What's going to happen? It was a very difficult time to Am Yisrael. We just came out of the Holocaust and now we're going to get extinct again. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe answered him, instead of saying my yeah, is what can I do? Don't say my yeah. Look, don't look at Hashem, my yeah. What's going to happen? He says, don't say what's going to happen. Say what can I do? What can I do? I'll do something. I'll change it. So very interestingly, that we see that when we raise our hands to the sky and say what's going to happen, that's not the solution. Rather do something. Initiate something. Initiate an action. You will change your path, your mazal, your luck. So the Torah comes and tells me, yes, it is all true, but you're way above that. Don't ask questions. Don't go and interrogate. Don't go and dig too deep. Just be simple. Stick to Hashem. Pray. Do mitzvot. Learn Torah. Give charity. Just initiate an action. Don't wait for the action to happen. And that's what we want to learn from this parasha, that is very applicable to the time of Elul. There is no time for just questions. Time to do. Just do an action. You change your mazal. Increase in Torah. Increase in mitzvot. Increase in charity, in good deeds, good actions, good thoughts. And Bezrat Hashem, that's what changes our path, changes our luck. And Bezrat Hashem, we do that, we concentrate on that, then Hashem is going to change the path and make sure that Mashiach is going to come very soon. Bezrat Hashem, all the questions will be answered at that time. Bezrat Hashem, we should have a beautiful, restful week, successful week. It's Rosh Chodesh Elul this week, should have a good and auspicious Rosh Chodesh. Bezrat Hashem, should merit to see the Geula coming very soon.